Welcome to Classic Comics Cavalcade. I'm Jason Sachs.
I'm Amir Malikpour.
And today we are changing up our pattern. We've been talking about Fantastic Four issues for the last few weeks, but we're going to look at some different stuff as part of our video cast. And we decided to look at Walt Simonson's Thor, starting with Thor 337. And I love this image of me with the wings over my head, but it's the first Beta Ray Bill. This is such an awesome comic.
It's pretty cool.
So I want to set the stage with a couple things I found online. First of all, here's the other comics that were on sale the same month. So among them were John Byrne on the Fantastic Four, uh, Frank Miller just finished on Daredevil, Daredevil
Wow.
201. It's a really good run of Doctor Strange, John Byrne on Alpha Flight, Roger Stern writing Spider-Man and Avengers, which were really fun. And for X-Men fans, this was the Paul Smith era.
Mm.
They're fighting the Brood in this issue. Pretty good time frame. And then we're about a year away from Bill Sienkiewicz taking over New Mutants. That's kind of the height of the Jim Shooter era.
Wow. So this comic came out before Sienkiewicz took over New Mutants art duties, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. There's that also Star Wars with the Klaus Janson cover. Actually, interiors too. No, the next one.
Oh, Tom Palmer on this one.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
That's a beautiful looking cover. I could have pulled up some stuff on the on another page. Oh yeah, he drew and colored the Star Wars Annual that month. I've never read that. Have you read that?
I haven't read it, but I've seen it, like a video done about it.
I need to. Is it impressive as hell?
It is. Yeah, the art's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I love that period of Klaus Janson. And those Star Wars comics are fantastic.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I found is, have you seen this?
No, but doesn't Walt Simonson keep all of his original art? That's why we get so many artist editions of his stuff.
Yeah, that's the story I've always heard.
I love this cover.
It's the greatest cover. So to prep for this, I read Thor 336, which is uh, by Alan Zelenetz and Herb Trimpe.
Oh wow, I've never even heard of that one. Wow.
And it's not good. It's, just this mediocre Thor story. It's
hmm
not even half about Thor. It's about the second-rate hero called Captain Ultra,
hmm
and he's jealous of Thor, and so he forces Thor to fight him. And then at the end of the issue, Sif goes back to Asgard, and Thor is left back on Earth.
hmm
He had just moved to Chicago, so perfect transition, because in this issue, Thor is living in Chicago. So it's actually in there. There's Thor in Chicago. So it's actually in continuity,
Yeah.
which just makes this comic even better. So with all that as a precursor, had you read this before?
Yeah, I had read this. Actually, I've read quite a bit of few issues of this original run, maybe like five or six of them, the first five or six of his run. And basically the Beta Ray Bill story. I'm familiar
Okay.
with it, yeah. And great issue. It's the start. I mean, one of the things that people point out about Walt Simonson's Thor is that he's kind of making Donald Blake kind of obsolete or a
hmm
non-important character. And I'm just curious, I don't know too much about the history of that. Did he start to do that, or was that done before him? Or, because I believe so as an adult, when I came back to read comics, Thor was one of the comics that I started reading back again, and I was reading the JMS Thor, the J. Michael Straczynski Thor with Olivier Coipel, and I believe Marco Djurdjevic on art on that
hmm
whole run. It was beautiful, wonderful run. I actually really enjoyed it. It's controversial, but in that, Um, I think Donald Blake was back, except he was like in another realm just hanging out. So I'm wondering here it seems like Thor and Donald Blake are like exactly the same person. So there's no distinction. He's just pretending. It's just a haircut.
Yeah, it's just a haircut essentially. I mean, you can see it in the dialogue here too, right?
Hmm.
The way he's talking. I mean, this really struck me reading page 4, how much he sounds like he's just like Thor, just maybe less. He's not speaking in these and thous, but he may as well be.
Yeah, yeah. And so who started that? Was it Walt Simonson or was
But
it?
in fact, he even says, I almost envy every mortal I see. So he's saying there isn't really a difference.
Mhm. But do
Who
you know
started
who
that?
started? Yeah.
So I mean, the previous run, the Zelnitz run, I've only read the one issue, really. I haven't read the rest of it in a long time.
Hmm.
And I have a really vague memory of the Doug Mensch run that was before this too, which is
Hmm.
actually considered to be the worst run in Thor history.
Oh wow. Who was on arts on that one?
I want to say someone like Bob Hall.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong about that. Uh, but it's just not very good.
Hmm.
And I do remember like there being like this the Stan style secret ego or uh secret identity, I mean.
Mm.
But Don Blake is kind of a non-entity anyway, right?
Hmm. I mean, I like that aspect of like the dual. It's definitely I like it to secret identity. I like it that you have to change like you're switching between characters that are totally different people, almost like a multiple personality disorder, you know?
Yeah, right. Our heroes of MPD.
But like they know that the other person exists, but they're completely different people.
Hmm.
I mean, that's
Like,
isn't I'm not a psychologist or I don't have any expertise in it, but isn't that what multiple personality is? Like they actually know each other and they don't necessarily switch at will, but
oh my, I don't know enough to even answer that question, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's
I like that,
hilarious.
but I like
Put
this
it
too.
that
I
way.
like this store also because I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, this one, uh, maybe Walt Simon said it or somebody said this, but I like that you just concentrate on Thor. You know, you get Thor and keep it simple and action packed as this issue is.
And this issue does such a great job of like setting up things that are going to come, but also being like loyal to the characters that came before. A lot of people, when they take over a comic, like when John Byrne took over Fantastic Four, since I'm talking about this era, like he basically ignored everything that came before him. It was
Mm,
also a terrible run right before him. Uh, Everyone was happy to see John Byrne because the comic was completely stale.
mm,
Uh, but he reinvented everything. He didn't care what came before. Like Simonson really does kind of nod in that direction. And he
mhm,
really effectively writes Don Blake out over these first few issues, right?
mhm.
I forgot all this doom, doom, doom stuff at the beginning. I remember Simonson does this for a few issues, right? And then it becomes like the third big storyline or something.
Yeah, I mean it's could we say I mean this is a what is a 40-year-old comic, so we can maybe spoil. This is a red herring, right?
Yeah,
Because you think that this is Beta Ray Bill. And I mean when I read it, I mean I kind of knew, but you're seeing like somebody in coming towards Earth, and even in if you keep going, maybe I mean I think I don't know, do we want to keep going? Because there's like
yeah.
reports that like there's this being that's eating up planets. So it's very similar to Galactus. And then at the same time, you see Beta Ray Bill's ship come. So you're like, oh, it must be Beta Ray Bill who's eating up planets. And they kind
Mhm.
of look alike because you don't like they're both red.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, it's probably Beta Ray Bill. And then I don't want to jump ahead of this comic, but
Is he like a herald of him or something?
oh,
Can I just say Walt Simonson's art too?
it,
Fucking love this artwork.
it's great. Yeah, I mean that Doom lettering is awesome. I love that Doom.
Oh yeah.
But it means two things. It means the noise and the meaning is Doom.
Hmm. That's his pal John Workman, who does all his lettering.
Mhm.
Right. You saw it all through the Thor omnibus and even the Orion omnibus too, doing the lettering.
Yeah, John Workman does all of the lettering throughout his run except one issue, number 375.
Is that the fill-in with the Hercules?
Oh, I don't know. I just was looking at the omnibus.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Um,
reading. I'm reading it with this beautiful omnibus.
it's so nice.
Huge.
Wait, yeah. Let me stop sharing. Show it again.
Well, I don't have the cover. I took the cover off because I don't want it to ruin it, but it's look at the
It's
thickness of
so
it. That's the
massive.
whole run.
I love the hammer on the side.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Such a great looking book. I still have all the originals. I need to pick up the Omni, although it's going to come out in Masterworks format coming up now too. I wonder who this guy is.
Looks
Oh,
like
looks
um
like it looks like he's really he's drawing somebody who he knows.
he looks like Darius from Hootie and the Blowfish. That's before that. Darius was like popular in the 90s.
That's who he's playing on his boombox. I love this bit with the Shield agents kidnapping John Blake,
Hmm.
and it turns out to be Nick Fury in the car.
Hmm.
That's just so fun.
Smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. Oh, it's only a cigarette too. It's not a cigar. That's different.
Maybe it is a cigar. It's like a little cigar.
And the car takes off and starts flying.
It's still cool though, because you know he like rolled it himself.
Who knows what else is in that cigar or cigarette? Great shot of the helicarrier.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I just love that. And there's so much about this. I'm like, I should say, like, I love this. I love that. I love everything in this issue.
I mean, when he changes from Blake to Thor, see that Kirby dots, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got the workman lettering, the Kirby dots, the Simonson style. It's all there. And the helicarrier scene just looks so amazing.
Hmm.
There's our threat.
And that's probably like the guy that we're seeing, the Doom guy.
Yeah. And Thor's facing the shadows. He must fight some evil. The signature panel from Simonson. I didn't catch
Yeah.
this on first reading.
Yeah, I love the way his Thor holds on to Mjolnir.
It really feels like it's dragging him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not a lot of artists do that.
And you see like his trajectory, how he moved from the ship up onto our face.
Hmm. And you can see he doesn't fly like Superman either. He's like almost like running in the air or something.
One commentary though, the last panel, panel 3, is he wearing high heels into battle? Oh no, who's the one wearing those? Oh no, that's Sif. Okay,
That's
my
Sif
bad.
wearing high heels. Yeah.
Oh, she shouldn't be wearing high heels. It's battle.
Well, she's hanging out in Asgard.
Okay. Okay, cool.
You know, they're all 7 feet tall, so she's got to get up to their height.
Okay.
We got all the scene setting with Heimdall and stuff,
Hmm.
all stuff that's going to be coming out in the next issue. I remember I was looking for my original copy. I couldn't get into my box, but I remember this being a lot less colorful. That's one thing. They've recolored these comics for the new editions.
Oh yeah, Steve Olive. Um,
Yeah,
really good job.
it is a good job. Yeah,
So Boulder the Brave, I love this new characterization. I don't know if Walt Simonson did it on purpose, but Balder has just come back from hell or Hela or whatever, and he's almost like reformed. He's like a pacifist now.
yeah,
Kind of like when people go to war and they come back and they become anti-war.
yeah.
There's like a little subtle pass, and he's like he does not look like a god anymore. He doesn't look like Thor, and you know he seems like he's been through something.
He seems like a regular man, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a case where like that Shakespearean language really works.
Hmm.
Really like that. Eternity is a long time, my lady. Balder the Brave is a myth I have outlived. It really feels Shakespearean.
Hmm.
Of
He
course,
looks
he'll be a
ragged.
big character through Simonson's run.
I have not read that part about Boulder, so I'm looking forward to for us to, read all these 985 pages and do a issue by issue synopsis.
Or chunk by chunk, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm joking. Yeah.
It's just
Looks good.
you can tell he loves drawing Thor.
Hmm.
And if you flip back, like these feel like they're in the same motion, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's not confusing because the next page you have the Beta Rail Ray Bill page, you kind of hear him talking, and then you see Thor. And what I love about it is that Beta Ray Bill thinks of Thor as like a demon type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does he call him a demon? Yeah, demon, yeah.
Yeah.
So the humans to him look ugly and demonish, demon-like.
I love how that's like the turn of the screw. Things are just seen differently through his eyes.
Yeah, and I think it must have been confusing if you read it the first time, not in a bad way. I mean, it's supposed to be confusing. Like, wait, who's calling who a demon? Why is that Thor thinking?
Well, this was one of the issues I read about in the 80s book that became this monster hit. Like it was a blockbuster hit. And it was under-ordered because people didn't think of Walt Simonson as a star artist at the time.
Ah, okay.
And it's one of those comics that generated this enormous buzz almost immediately
Hmm.
because they're like, what the fuck? Right. And we'll get to the what the fuck moment in a minute. But the intensity, the brilliance, the excitement of this comic, it was immediately a bestseller.
Hmm.
Like literally within 3 4 months, it was at like top of the charts.
Mm. Did they do second and third printings back then?
No,
Oh,
so this went
wow.
up on the collector's market. This is one of
Wow.
those books was like $10 on this on the at the comic store if you could find it.
Wow. Okay.
Love that last panel there too. You have no idea what that is in that
Hmm.
moment.
It's like an alien.
Yeah. And then Simonson cuts away. My God, the way he draws Loki's castle.
Hmm.
So that's just like that first panel. It's got so much going on in it.
Hmm.
Just fucking gorgeous. I'm full of raves this week. Completely full of raves this week. We get the subplot with Loki. You want to talk about that at all, or should we focus on
I'm
Beta Ray
not
Bill this
familiar with
time?
this female character. Who's that?
We'll get to her in future weeks
Okay. Oh yeah, Loki is melancholy.
because we want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So there's that Beta Ray Bill in his costume that's red, that's similar to that demon in the beginning of the issue where you're like, oh, I guess that could have been Beta Ray Bill. He must be a bad guy because he's ugly. He looks like a demon. And then Thor is really beat up. He looks like Balder.
Yeah, he does. The helmet's all messed up on his head. Falls head over heels in the panel before.
Mhm.
And undercutting it all is I'm called Bill? Beta Ray Bill? Like such an awesomely stupid name. And the fight, it's so smart by Simonson, where Thor says, I don't know how you can speak my language. How would you speak my tongue? Like, no one ever calls it out in superhero comics. He makes the effort to explain it.
Scuttlebutt, the spaceship.
Does this feel like a Jack Kirby fight scene too?
Mhm.
A 6 panel grid and the intensity of it all. All it's missing is some dots.
It's really simple, but gets the point across. The action.
I just noticed too, he foregrounds the bit with the hammer at the bottom of page 16.
Oh yeah, hammer's on the ground.
It's yeah, it's clever little foreshadowing. And the ship grows. And then there it is. The hammer's still in the foreground. He changes
Mhm.
back to Blake.
Oh no.
But then we get to the moment. The moment. This is the moment that still fries my brain.
Mhm.
This has got to be one of the most iconic comic scenes ever,
Back. Boom.
at least for that Marvel era. Just
Don't
imagine
you,
the shock, right?
don't
Here's
you think
this
there
guy
should
who
have
looks
been
like
a
this villain, who's like maybe the force of doom. And we know the myth, like whoever picks up Thor's hammer must be worthy to hold it. And he holds it. He changes and he's got this awesome costume. And you're like, what the actual fuck is happening here? Literally anything can happen now.
Mhm. Don't you think that I'm like I'm there should have been like a splash page, like you get a reveal on the next page. That would have,
Yeah, that's the one thing it's missing.
but this is good enough.
We get it on the cover.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, by the time you get to the bottom of page 21 here, you're like, is he going to attack Earth? What the hell is going to happen? We have no idea.
Mhm.
And then the cliffhanger. We get our excitement deferred. Odin's like, come on, dude, I need you in Asgard. Thor, my son, we have need of you. And he's gone in a giant room. Don Blake is bereft. Father.
Why have you forsaken me?
I like, what an amazing cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Like, it was all I could do to keep myself from reading the next page.
Mhm. It was great. Looking forward to the next issue.
I think this is about as good as like a non Stan and Jack Marvel can be
Mhm.
in some ways. Thanks for reading it with me.
Yeah,
Can't
thank you.
wait to dig into more.
It was very fast, fun read. Yeah.
Looking forward to so much more. See you, Amir.
See you. Bye.